Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. We are on show number 148, and that's a lot of shows.
It is a lot of shows.
I'm serious. Like I
We're
can't
almost
believe
at our
done-
sesquicentennial.
What does that mean?
That's 150.
Oh, is that really what that means?
Well, actually, sesquicentennial. Yeah, 150.
You could say it, but can you spell it?
Sesquicentennial.
Is that Spanish for something?
Yeah, it's for the centennial.
You know, just about this time next year,
it'll be a 200.
200.
Mm-hmm.
That will
As
be an
much
amazing
fun as 100 was, 200 kind of scares me.
Jason, we didn't know you for the 100th show.
Jason, yeah.
But it was an interesting thing. We all got together on a big long balcony outside of a building downtown overlooking Discovery Green, and we invited. Now, certainly everybody didn't make it, but we invited everyone who'd ever been on the show in the first 99 episodes to attend. And so we wound up with quite a few people and a show that was over 4 hours long. It was
It was a rotating.
That sounds like a blast.
It was. It was a rotating door.
It started out intelligible and then devolved.
well.
Was that 4 hours of drinking as well?
Drinking
Oh,
and
yeah.
smoking,
I
yes.
can imagine.
And it was all pretty intelligible until Jeremiah Butler from B&B Butchers and Restaurant, our sponsor for the show, and your
Mark
buddy
Nichols,
Mark,
yeah.
who is all about beverage tap lines, because that's what he does for a living, is consult and upgrade those. They got onto a complete conversation. In the fourth hour, the show devolved to the point where if you didn't own a bar or manage a bar or a restaurant, there was really nothing
No
for
idea
you.
what was going
Yeah,
on.
there was really nothing for you. But it was still pretty interesting to hear about. So we are here with Jason Poehler. Jason with a couple of great brands, and certainly we've talked about My Father. We'll move a little further here in a minute, but I wanted to shift over to talk to Alan for just a minute, because Alan, you first of all, you have been a guest on the show a number of times. In fact, I think now twice more than
I don't know
than some guy named Chris Hart, who nobody cares about. But one of the shows that I really enjoyed was when you brought Jose Blanco from EP Carrillo.
Oh, that was a great time.
Onto the show, and he was so knowledgeable. I learned so much about cigars on that show.
So
from him.
he's actually Hochi's cousin.
Right.
And between the two of them, they've forgotten more about tobacco than any of us will ever know.
I believe it. So he was the senior vice president of EPC Cigar Company, EP Carrillo. But he is leaving EP Carrillo.
He is.
And I understand he's not the only one leaving EP Carrillo.
No, I don't want to get into it too much. I tendered my resignation yesterday.
So, okay.
I have another opportunity. I'm going back into the retail side.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that a lot. I really enjoyed managing my former shop. But going to be going to business with two gentlemen, and we'll be opening up a shop. I don't want to push too much right now, but I'm sure that maybe the next time we talk about it, we might be doing this show from my shop, hopefully.
Well, first of all, I'll consider that an invitation, and we'll accept right now.
Absolutely.
Unless you're like, even if you are far away, we'll still yes, it's all good. We'll make it there.
It's no further than y'all have ever gone before.
But I guess my biggest question for you then, other than ones that maybe wouldn't be appropriate to answer, but about what's going on at EP Carrillo, because it does seem interesting that that in the year after they've had maybe the best publicity, the #1 rating in Cigar Aficionado, Cigar of the Year 2018 for the Encore, and then to see like that there's maybe a little shuffling going on seems interesting. I don't know how much you can talk about or how much you would.
To be honest, not a lot. But I will tell you, I've talked with Jose at length. It's everybody or anyone that is leaving or has left. We want to do it amicably. It's not no one just quit and walked out and said we're done. There's I tendered a resignation. They accepted it. Jose did the same thing. He is going on and doing something else.
And so are you.
He hasn't. Yeah, I am as well. He has. He's going to do a lot of traveling with his family. His son wants to go to Legoland, and they want to do Disney, and so he's gonna do a lot of traveling with the family. The man lives on a plane anyway, but My last day with EP Carrillo will be August 10th. Jose's last day with EP Carrillo will be August 31st. And where he goes from there is anybody's guess. But the one thing he has told me is he is not leaving the business. So
that's good to know.
I don't know, honestly, if he has something already lined up, or once he gets done traveling with his family, then he'll go out and do his thing. He hasn't made that public or told me, or I don't know if he's told Ernesto or anyone else. But
Well, I do sure hope we could have another opportunity to have him on the show, because it was really a great
he
show.
has told me that he'll be in Houston again, because he knows what I'm doing with the shop. And
So speaking of the shop, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Mhm.
Will you carry Nat Sherman cigars in your shop?
no.
Okay, so now that you're freed from the position of and I know I don't want to say you were being politically correct, but I think you were trying to be kind to people that you respect that were in positions that
It's not just that. And in the cigar industry, if you read any of the magazines, you read Cigar Aficionado, you read the majority of the major publications, you read the majority of the bloggers, no one wants to shit on another company. We all want this industry to be positive. And if you start saying, oh, well, I give this cigar a 50 out of 100 possible points, everybody knows, oh my gosh, that thing must be terrible. And no one wants to do that. I'm sure there are some ratings like that. I'm sure Cigar Aficionado and Cigar Snob and some of these other companies have smoked a cigar and they're like, whoa, I got through a quarter inch and I can't touch it. And they don't want to put anybody down. They want everything in this industry. We're already going through enough headaches as it is with the FDA and all the raising of the age through states across the country and cities across the country, as well
and
as
outright bans of tobacco sales in some cities.
You look at Beverly Hills. You will not be able, unless you're part of the big lounge there that all the top celebrities and stuff are a part of. You won't be able to sell tobacco there, and that's becoming more and more prevalent, and it's really, really sad.
Yeah, it really is.
That makes me want to lobby for a wall. Not on the Mexican border, but on the California border, so we can keep all those crazy ideas over there.
I 100% agree.
I'm just trying to figure out, and I have no issue. In fact, I'm for the legalization of marijuana. But that said, why is it that we're taking marijuana and making it easier to get, more legal to buy, less of a penalty in the states that haven't legalized it? In other words, we're relaxing all of that. And yet cigars, which don't have, the same kind of issues potentially in terms of intoxication at least, like they're becoming more and more outlawed. It just makes no sense to me. I don't support more restrictions on pot, but it just seems like such a dichotomy.
We've talked about
The
the
hypocrisy
ridiculousness
of it all.
Yeah.
We've talked about the ridiculousness of you will get a ticket if you're in California standing on a street smoking a cigar. But if you're standing next to the guy smoking a cigar, smoking a joint, you won't get looked at twice.
He'll stand there and watch you get your ticket.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. And I'm not saying that you should get a ticket for smoking that joint because, again, on that whole issue, I don't care. But why is it that the cigar is so offensive?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know that.
I think this is one of those classic follow the money scenarios.
Yeah.
I saw a report about the economic impact of the marijuana industry in Colorado alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number.
It
I think there was
revitalized
a
the
billion
entire
and there was
state.
a 6 in it. So let's just go low end, say $6 billion economic impact. I think it was closer. It was like 60 billion. But our whole industry, the whole national industry, is less than that impact that Colorado alone got. So there's a lot of money in it for the state of Colorado.
Sure.
Makes
We
sense.
are small fries. We're a very small cottage industry. So we don't have those kind of rich friends.
The whole thing with the Nat Sherman debate, which we've talked about a lot here on the show, Nat Sherman is owned by the company that basically sent out, the tobacco company that basically sent out a letter saying they approved of these pending FDA regulations on the industry. And that's what we were saying, well, okay, you can do that if you want. And I realize Nat Sherman is a tiny, tiny piece of your entire catalog. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to buy your product. Why would I buy a product from someone that's trying to encourage further regulation on an industry that is already regulated plenty. It makes no sense to me.
Overregulated.
Overregulated, and I would just simply take those dollars and I would give them to companies that are not for this regulation because it makes no sense.
I am super glad that the government is there to tell me what I can and can't do because I'm certainly not smart enough to make decisions on my own.
Yeah,
as an adult,
right?
know?
Why would we allow you to do that? Ian?
Like that's it's true, I guess.
Yeah, I think we should lobby for more control. This is House Bill number 4217. What Ian is allowed to eat, drink, and smoke.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that's going to be what it is.
And it should be whatever you as a grown adult wants.
Ian, I want to taste the Citra drink. So why don't you
I will facilitate
pop that bad
this.
boy open and facilitate it for me. While you're doing that, I will mention that every week when I'm like looking over things for us to talk about on the show, every week there's another one. Another celebrity, recording artist, band releasing a beer or a whiskey or something. This week, it's a band I actually really like. Chevelle is releasing a craft beer. Yeah, I've been to. I
don't
went
know
to
what
see
to
these
say about
guys.
that.
Went to see these guys
Chevelle?
last year. Chevelle,
Isn't
the
that
band.
a car?
It's a car, but it's also a band.
I don't know. Well, see,
And,
it's not that I'm the craft beer that I'm worried about. I'm worried about you liking Chevelle.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
dude.
I'm
They're-
just
They're a
teasing
good
you.
band.
I'm just
What are you
teasing
talking
you.
about? I went to the show. I love it. I mean, look, they're not innovators. They're just fun to listen to.
I'm totally teasing.
All right, fair enough. I'll pass the Citra drink around. Chevelle is releasing a classic German-style Helles lager that they're doing in collaboration with Revolution Brewing out of Chicago. And the beer will be called La Gorgola, which is also the name of one of their songs. And it's, I'm sure it'll be good. I mean, if a band or an artist is releasing something in conjunction with a company that essentially makes good quality stuff, it becomes hard for me to try to figure out how I feel about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't think a band putting their brand name, and a band is a brand name. A popular band is a brand name,
course,
and
yeah.
that's all there is to it. Putting their band name
Bob
on a
Dylan's
product,
a brand name.
right? On a product is inherently a bad thing. The problem comes in when the band does that with a bad product, or they don't know about the product, or they're not involved with the product.
Well, the Metallica Blackened is a very good whiskey.
Yeah, well, when you go out and get Dave Pickerel to make your whiskey,
It's going to be
It's
pretty
gonna
good.
be a good whiskey.
I mean, like, come on. So it's not the issue that the band has put out something with their name on it. The issue is, are they doing it because they like the product and they want their product to have that name on it, or are they doing it because they just think they'll sell the product and make some money? That's where the problem comes in. Because if they're doing it as just a sales thing, it's probably a crap product.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of those that have come out that are just crappy, and they're selling it because somebody's name is on it.
Well,
The Kardashian shake weight? You talking about that?
that's great. That's great. Now, Eminem's doing a cigar with Drew Estates.
I can see that.
He's already done one.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, he's done one
It's-
before. He's doing a second.
Right. He's doing it. So
Shady.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
That
It was
makes
the
sense.
Is it an
Undercrown
acid cigar?
No, it was an Undercrown. It was it was an Undercrown
it's
Shady. I
Shady.
think they just released it in Detroit the first time. It's
Oh.
2 or 3 years ago.
Just a local release in Detroit?
I believe it was. I believe
Okay,
it
that's why I
was.
don't know about it.
Interesting though to see more and more of this going on. I guess. I mean, you guys are on the, are on the sales side of the cigar thing. Is it more and more difficult to break through now with just a good product? In other words, is a good product enough, or does it take something else to get noticed, to get on the shelves?
Oh, it takes more.
Yeah.
Okay.
This industry is in a golden age right now. It is full of just wonderful cigars. So you have to raise yourself above a level of the others somehow, and I think that's through marketing.
Right.
That is through marketing, branding your product properly and presenting it properly in the stores and pricing it right. All the different P's of marketing. You got to do that correctly, and you have to be a well-managed company as well.
You have to be able to.
There are a lot of
meet
companies
the
out
desire
there-
if the demand goes up.
Yes, there are companies out there who make wonderful blends, but then appear to wake up every morning and tie their own shoelaces together. So
a few of
they
those.
never reach their full potential. I'll say that I believe if you have a really well-run company and you have a good cigar, not the greatest cigar, but you have a good cigar, you're going to go farther than if you have a great cigar but a poorly run company.
Yep.
Well, yeah, sure. That makes sense. Well, you saw firsthand at EP Carrillo
Sure.
the difference in, I'm going to guess, your entire line sales when Encore got the number 1 rating for 2018 in Cigar Aficionado.
Absolutely.
How'd that feel? I've been through that a few times myself.
Yeah, they you know, I'm buying a house with Encore, but you know, and Jason's done it twice. LeBijou got it a couple of years ago, and then Flor de las Antilles got it before that. They've had, I don't know how many My Fathers have been on the top 10 over the last 20 years. There's no time.
Over the
They pretty much
years,
live
I've worked
there,
with
don't
companies and sold cigars to these retailers that ended up in a number 1 spot. I'm not counting Cubans here. I think it's 6 times that I've had a number 1. Whether it's
That's amazing.
Alec Bradley Prensado, the Aging Room, which was number 2, but I don't count the number 1 as a Cuban. Number 1 in America. The Flor de las Antillas, the Le Bijou. And if you go to the other popular publications, we've also had the H2K CT that was number 1 in Cigar
Had
Snob,
one of
also
those
number
last
16 in Aficionado, and the Judge, which we're smoking right now, was simultaneously number 1 in Cigar and Spirits, I think, and also number 7 in Cigar Aficionado.
And that changes things on the sales front, doesn't it?
Oh, you bet it does.
Yeah.
And what's easier to sell than a number 1 cigar?
Nothing.
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 You just point to it and say, you know, that's the number 1 cigar. If you're a serious cigar smoker, you owe it to yourself to pick
Well,
that
at
cigar up
least
and
try
try
it.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
I know for a fact because when LeBijou got number 1, I was one of those guys who was managing a shop. I'm hitting refresh on Cigar Aficionado, and as soon as LeBijou got it, I picked up the phone, called Jason, and I think you told me that y'all had plenty of LeBijou because they were expecting H2K to get it. So they had.
That was their best guess. We really don't know.
Yeah.
We don't get a memo
advance,
from
yeah.
Cigar Aficionado or
Right.
Cigar Snob or somebody.
Yeah. Like when you're going to win the Grammy and they try really, really hard to get you to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That-
you kind of know. Yeah.
That was a nice consolation prize, as the Le Bijou was number 1 Cigar Aficionado, which they thought the H2K was going to be. That same year, the H2K CT was number 1 in Cigar Snob. So My Father's Cigars had 2 number 1
Had two
cigars in the
different
same
number ones.
year.
Yeah, the same
Well,
year.
and the bad thing about it is, first, of course, they don't tell the companies. But then when that comes out, the factories are shut down. They've shut down for Christmas. So there's no calling 60
can't go, "Hey,
rollers
guys,
in to
come
start
on."
rolling immediately. So you got to wait till they reopen a couple of weeks later to ramp up production.
That is something with Cigar Aficionado. I had something to do with ad revenue or whatever, because it was years ago when the Flor de las Antillas became number 1. The local retailer here, Ron Lesro, woke me up. He called me 3 times that morning. I was still asleep. And I said, what the hell you want? Finally, he said, wake up, dumbass, you just got number 1. That was in January. And everything was good to go. But for some reason, since then, they moved the announcement
Before
back to
Christmas.
mid-December.
And with it being before Christmas, no one's ordered heavy for Christmas on a particular cigar because we don't know.
Right.
So people come in to a retailer going, "Hey, I want to get a box of this for a Christmas present." Yeah, so does everybody else in the country.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's an interesting thing, and obviously, I think you're right. Cigar Aficionado is looking for the advertising dollars that probably come in that final issue of the year, and that's probably their biggest issue in terms of advertising.
Yeah,
So-
because they release it online, and then the issue doesn't come out till mid-January, towards late January, something like that.
And, they're a smart company.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. It just doesn't help the retailers or the manufacturers a whole lot.
Right. Ian, what can you tell us from the can about the Citra drink?
New England style pale.
That's about all it tells you, huh?
That's really it. Levante Brewing Company. Levante, Levante.
They're out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. I know
that's
that.
it. Pale Ale 5 point.
That's part of New England?
Not really.
No,
not really.
no, Pennsylvania is below
So
New
that's why it's a
England,
New
technically.
England
That's the Mid-Atlantic.
style.
Yeah.
That's why it's a New England style. But I will tell you from the nose, lots and lots of citrus.
Yep.
Obviously, it's got the Citra hops in it, so that's a big reason. But they're definitely staying true to that.
That's a good summer beer right there. Very
How you
refreshing.
feeling about it?
I'm digging it. I'm
So,
digging it.
well,
It's
I've-
got. It doesn't have a lot of that, trailing bitterness to it. It's good. There's a little bit there
Right.
because of the hops, but it's really kind of counteracted by the citrus, the grapefruit, maybe a little bit of like blood orange. that I'm pulling out
I'm
of it?
picking up a little bit of that, but I think that my cigar is crushing it a little bit.
That could be. I mean,
think,
some things
honestly,
go together better.
I'm not getting a lot of complexity out of it. I think my cigar, and in this case, I don't think it's the liquid. I think it's the cigar is actually brutalizing the beer at this point in time,
Well,
because I am smoking a pretty big cigar.
It's always a challenge when we do one of the live shows like we are here in the Cigar Lounge at Stogie's in Houston. We do one of the live shows where we're having a cigar at the same time as the IPA. I've told you my fridge is stocked with IPAs, but I don't have one when I'm having a cigar. If I'm having a beer, I'll go for someone else.
Your cigar's been over for a little while. What I'm tasting in this, and I'm going to bounce this off you since you're not actually currently smoking a cigar. What I'm tasting in this has a great juicy, has some grapefruit and like blood orange kind of flavors right up front. It has a great nose to it as well, but it doesn't have a lot of body in the middle of it.
No.
Which
It
makes
finishes-
it more, you were saying, more almost like a summer beer.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it finishes fairly light.
pretty clean and pretty light, with a little bit of bitter, which I kind of like. It doesn't have a big, hoppy, and because it's New England style, it doesn't have that resiny pine cone kind of
Right.
thing going on. The mouthfeel is actually pretty good. I actually just expected more body in the flavor because of the mouthfeel and everything else, but it's very drinkable.
I think this is not a full-time production. I think it's a special
Right,
a special
and
production.
well, and the
for-
can is one where they have the stick-on label, so it's probably one of those, hey, we'll make this and can it for a while.
But speaking of, by the way, you remember about 8-9 shows ago, I brought on the 5% Tent IPA from Spindletap.
Yes.
And we really liked it.
Yes.
It's low in ABV, low in calories, but had a really good sort of a New England IPA vibe to it. I was looking at the several of them that I had in my refrigerator that came from 2 6-packs that had been purchased at separate times. One of them had the stick-on label, but the newest one that I bought was
printed
printed
label,
on the
yeah.
can, which made me excited that maybe this beer is going to
Gonna be
stick
like a
around
regular- you're right,
and
nice.
not be a limited release, because that's currently one of my go-tos. But I like the Citra drink. I like it a lot. I think as the New England IPAs go, or this one's just a pale, but I've had enough of them now that I'm starting to get a little pickier about the ones that I really, really love,
Right.
and the ones that I just go, yeah, that's pretty good. And this one would fall into the category of ones that I really like a lot. I feel like it's different enough from some of the others, and it's got enough of a sort of the thinner summer vibe to
Yeah.
it that it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm drinking a milkshake.
Well, yeah, one of the things I kind of like about it, one of the interesting things about it is the mouthfeel is nice and big, so it's kind of a satisfying mouthfeel without being a huge flavor overall.
Is this a wheat beer? It's kind of got that cloudy appearance of a wheat beer.
No, this is
Yeah.
a New England style IPAs are
Generally pretty
generally
hazy,
like
yeah.
a juicy or a hazy IPA.
Yeah, I think it comes from the Citra hops, and of course it is
Unfiltered,
unfiltered.
yeah.
So that gives it some of the hazier.
It-
What do you
in wheat
think,
beers, generally, you get a lot of the banana esters in there and stuff, and this doesn't have
Okay.
those flavors.
This is delicious. I don't pick
And
up.
you're not an IPA guy.
No, I am not.
Nor am
but,
I.
But the citrus on this, I don't get as much of the blood orange as I do the grapefruit.
It's
And
grapefruit's
there-
the dominant. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I love that. In a summer beer, the Ruby Red, I love that beer.
Right.
This is delicious.
Well, I'm glad you like it. All right, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We will do, when we come back, 30 beers that changed America. Plus, we're going to switch it up and try something that should be likely to go well with the cigars we're smoking. It's the New Grove Martis Island 8-year-old tradition rum. So I'm anxious to see how you guys like this.
Awesome.
So we'll do that when we come back. Smoking and Toasting, show number 148. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our guests, Jason Poehler and Alan Denny. We'll be right back.